Okay, thanks. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the Community Safety Board, which has been conducted from the Council Chamber and remotely through Microsoft Teams. Please ensure your microphones are off. The meeting has now been recorded and will be made available on the Comhairle website following the meeting. Before we start the items on the agenda, I would like to welcome Christine Morrison, who is the newly appointed Consumer and Environmental Services Manager. I would also like to welcome to the first meeting of the board Chief Inspector Ross McCartney from Police Scotland, who's joining us online, and Group Commander Chris Smith from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. Area Commander Robert Lennox of Scottish Fire and Rescue Service has given his apologies for today's meeting, so we look forward to working with you all. I am ruling item 7 as urgent to allow the board to consider the matter before the next meeting of the board. Okay, so we move on to item 1, the minute of the meeting of 23rd of April 2025, and these are for your approval. Happy to approve, everybody? Yep. Thank you. Moving on then to item 2, declaration of interest. Members are asked to declare any interest they have in any items of the agenda. It would be helpful if members expressed why they're declaring this interest in the item concerned. So members in the chamber, please do so now by pressing your microphone or remotely through Teams by using the raise hand function. And also please ensure the declaration is repeated prior to the relevant item. So are there any declarations of interest? I see none in the chamber or online. So we move on then to item number 3 under governance, which is the appointment of Vice Chair. Can I call for nominations for Vice Chair of the Community Safety Board? Don't all rush. Oh, yes, see, Ronald. Oh, sorry, hang on, Councillor Fraser, I'll just bring you in. Yeah.
Can I nominate Councillor Kenny MacLeod from Harris?
Do I have a seconder for that? Well,
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Malcolm MacDonald. So, are you willing to accept this nomination, Councillor MacLeod?
Yeah. Unless there's anybody else.
Well, I'm looking around and I'm
I haven't
not...
had a chance to nominate anyone myself, so.
I've not seen any other nominations. No lights on, no hands raised.
Okay.
Okay.
One condition.
That I'm never off.
Yeah, for every meeting.
Thought you were going to say that. Thank you very much then. So in that case, Councillor MacLeod is now the Vice Chair of the Community Safety Board. You can come and join us up here if you wish to do that, or you're all plugged in. So at the next meeting, we'll see you up here. Thanks. Okay, item number 4. I'm going to invite the Chief Inspector, Ross McCartney, to speak to his report, which is the police report. So over to you, Chief Inspector.
Good afternoon, Chair, and thank you very much. And good afternoon to all members of... Oh. Can you not hear me?
I think we've got an IT glitch, so we're going to leave the meeting and rejoin.
I'm hearing fine online.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, online.
Thank you.
Yeah, over to you, Chief Inspector.
Can you hear me now, Chair?
Oh, we can, yes. Can you hear us?
Can anybody else online hear the Chair just now?
Yeah, yes. Can hear you all. Yep.
Are you not hearing? Oh, I'm going to me ask it.
I'm going to remove that headset and see if it makes any difference.
Well, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thank you.
On you go.
Must have been that headset, so my apologies. So, yeah, I'll start again. Thank you very much, Chair, and good afternoon to yourself, members of the board, and anyone else joining us today. As the Chair's already said, my name is Ross McCartney. I have recently taken up the Chief Inspector role as local area commander for Police Scotland, covering the Western Isles, replacing Chief Inspector Jane Mackenzie, who has moved on to pastures new. So I took up the role in March of this year, and I'll take this opportunity to say I'm absolutely delighted to have taken up this role and to be working with you all, the officers on my teams and the communities. It's fantastic, so thank you. So I'm here today to present the Police Performance Report covering the period 1st of April 2024 to the 31st of March 2025. I know you will all have had this report shared with you prior to this meeting, so unless you really want me to, I won't go through it stat for stat. I'll just give you a couple of brief breakdowns. So in relation to, I hope you'll agree, having a look at the figures, there are some really good figures in relation to some of the areas that the crime has actually decreased. I've got no doubt, having reviewed a lot of the data that comes out of the Your Police survey, reviewing a lot of that data, I've got no doubt that I can say quite confidently that speeding, drug misuse, fraud and antisocial behaviour continue to be of concern to our communities, and I can only give the assurance at this meeting, and I want to give that assurance, that we are absolutely committed to deterring, detecting and educating around these areas. And I think that's backed up over the last, over this reporting period, by the fact that you can see that crimes of breach of the peace have decreased 75% against the 5-year average, and by 40%, so 2 fewer crimes against the last year to date. Offences in relation to assault, crimes of violence have decreased by 18%. That's 22 less crimes. I know it says more crimes there, but that's a typo, so that should read less crimes against the 5-year average, and decreased by 6 fewer crimes against the last year to date, which is really good for me to see. It means that partnership approach to reducing violence and crimes of disorder is going in the right direction. What I will say on that is, at no point will we become complacent, and we are certainly represented on a number of forums, including the Youth Justice Committee, Antisocial Behaviour Subgroup, etc., that look to ensure that partnership approach and getting it right for every child, where indeed any of these offences do involve a child or young person. Drug misuse, in relation to that, we have, since the last Community Safety Board, where Chief Inspector Mackenzie attended, we now have a fully funded drugs detection dog, Police Dog Viv, and handler PC Callum MacDonald in post. Both of them are absolute credit to the role. They've undertaken significant training in terms of drugs detection, and they have actually really been out on force, not only at our mail links, shall we say, so how drugs are being posted onto the Western Isles. We'll have Viv down there scanning parcels, etc., trying to detect anything before those drugs make their way to the communities, and then we start an investigation into the intended recipient and any information into the sender of those drugs. So in total, Viv so far and Callum have taken around over 2,000 tablets off of the streets, and that is by way of either at these parcel delivery services or proactive drug search warrants, or even our link with CalMac down at the ferry terminal. So we are coming at this from quite a few angles, and I'm totally pleased to say that 2,000 tablets, I think it's roughly around 300 odd grams of cannabis. There's around 50 grams of cocaine and £2,000 in money, which we suspect to be proceeds of crime, have been taken off the street. And that is through that use of that absolutely invaluable asset, which is funded by the Outer Hebrides Alcohol and Drug Partnership. So we're looking at ways to continue funding. The funding is for, I think it's 2 years this moment in time, so we continue to look for ways to build in some resilience around the funding. Speeding remains a concern of our communities, and our officers and staff are daily tasked with not only community engagement, but also that proactivity out carrying out speed checks where we are being informed, in which areas we are being informed that there appears to be a significant issue. Fraud, I'll say, continues to be a concern, given the multitude in ways of which fraud can be perpetrated. Majority is online. Majority start with phishing scams, whether that be a phone call purporting to be from a bank or a text message purporting to be a loved one that has lost a phone short of cash and needs a bank transfer. I would take this opportunity in this forum just to ask that everyone continues to remain vigilant. If you are contacted, most banks and reputable companies will not contact you out of the blue, and they certainly won't be asking for personal details or for you to log in to any sort of online portal, which often gives them access to your computer and your bank account. So we continue to do a lot of work in this space in relation to education and getting useful links out there on social media that tell our communities what to look for. And again, a lot of work ongoing to try and identify perpetrators to bring them to justice. Antisocial behaviour, as I've said a short time ago, we continue to have a focus on this, albeit I am extremely glad to see a recent report in the Stornoway Gazette and also a discussion at a full council business meeting that there has been a notable reduction in antisocial behaviour, which is backed up by some of the stats in this report. However, as I say, we certainly are not complacent in terms of this, and we're looking at a number of ways, including reaching out to other areas who have significant ASB issues to identify any areas of good practice or projects that may have landed well that we can bring across to the Western Isles. And that's something I can bring back to a future meeting. In relation to distress brief intervention and mental health issues, we continue to champion this, albeit being totally transparent, our referrals to distress brief intervention have not been great. That is now an area of focus for us, and we continue to roll out training to our officers and staff. And for anybody that doesn't know what distress brief intervention is that service operated by Change Mental Health, which offers a support service. So if we have somebody who's in mental health crisis that we are called out to, we could submit a referral to the DBI, as it's known, and DBI will make contact with that individual within the first 24 hours, and then thereafter provide 14 days of ongoing support, whether that be financial or other concerns. This is a really, really good service, which we, I am certainly of the opinion will reduce demand on the police in terms of mental health and ensure that those suffering from acute mental health or otherwise get that full wraparound service at the right service from the right organisation at the right time. Community engagement, real passion of mine. And I'll say that to anybody who will listen to me. We've already started to look at ways we can reshape the way in which our officers in the Western Isles engage with communities. I have reached out to all community councils with the offer of a meeting with all chairs twice yearly, so that not only am I present and available to community council chairs, but that I have a full understanding that the actions that we have and we are carrying out are totally reflective of the concerns that are being fed back into us. This is in addition to their contact with their identified local liaison officer, so that is not certainly doesn't circumnavigate that. And I would like to take this opportunity to ask members, communities and constituents to complete the online Your Police survey. So previously we had around 110 responses with varying concerns, but as I say, speeding, drug misuse and social behaviour being some of the the more notable concerns. And what I would ask is for both the good and the bad. So any output data from these online surveys, they don't take very long to complete, but what it allows me to do is look and see what we're doing well and what we are doing not so well. So the good and the bad, please, so that I can, as I say, accurately direct my teams and resource to the areas and things that matter. So as we look at the summer period, we have our events, notable events coming up, including Heb Celt and EDF and the return of Barra Live. So we are busy forming part of the safety advisory group for that and how our resource picture looks for that community engaged approach response, ensuring that these events are safe and, you know, essentially occur without incident. So that is it from me, and I would like to open up for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Inspector. I'm just going to jump in and ask first, if that's all right. Two things on the antisocial behaviour. It was something that was, you know, really causing a huge concern to members of the community in Stornoway, and it's obviously good to see the figures coming down. So I think my questions would be, do you think that all incidents are being reported? Because that was an issue before. And whatever has worked to bring the numbers down, has there been analysis of that? So where the cycle of antisocial behaviour to start again, that there is tried and tested methods there that have been seen to work?
Thank you, Chair. So whilst I would love to sit here and say yes, all antisocial behaviour incidents are being reported and we have a full picture of it, I cannot confidently sit here and say that. My plea would be, if anybody is experiencing antisocial behaviour, that they do report it, so that it gives us that true and accurate reflection and allows us to respond appropriately. And in response to your second point there, I think we have developed good structures in response to ASB, good partnership structures with social work and education and all of these other, you know, there are so many, and I hear them probably on a weekly basis. There's so much excellent work going on out there by different bodies, different groups, and there's social groups running, and it's excellent. So if anything, this has you know, almost forced us to have that look in depth to say what works well, and if we do experience a spike, we are, you know, we're not starting from step one. So I can confidently sit here and say that we do have good processes in place, and we'll be keeping a keen eye.
Very good, that's good to hear. I'm going to call now Councillor Mustafa Hussain, and he'll be followed by Councillor Norman MacDonald.
Good afternoon, Ross, and welcome to the board. Thanks very much, Chair. The first question is, I think, the 2000 related tablet you seized. Can you tell us what kind of tablets are they, please? Or
certainly, Councillor. So it varies from ecstasy to prescription medication. And when I use the term prescription medication, I am not talking about, you know, that it comes from a GP. It is stuff that is bought online from mainly not reputable sources that comes through.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have an idea of how many alcohol or drug-related deaths we had last year or this year in the Western Isles?
So I don't have the figures to hand, and I can only apologise for that, but what I can do is give you some assurance in that there are forums in which these are discussed, and we do trying to get this. So there is a partnership approach to looking at how we prevent alcohol and drug deaths in the Western Isles, and it's a key area of business for all of the services, particularly police, NHS, council and Scottish Ambulance Service. So unfortunately I don't have the figures. I can certainly email them over to you when I get them, Councillor.
That'll be great. Thanks very much. And the last question is, in terms of alcohol and drug-related violence in the community, do you know if there is a trend, if it's increasing or reducing, or
So we do, our figures don't actually go down into, especially not in this report, the depth that you're looking for in terms of that. We do, as an organisation, as best we can, record if a crime has occurred and if alcohol is involved. Drugs, we do not in terms of violence, purely because, as much as we can suspect somebody is under the influence of drugs, we actually, there's no way of determining that without, blood tests, etc., and going down into the realms of that, which would never be the case. So alcohol we do record in terms of violence. So again, that's something I can take away and have a look at.
Okay. No, I think sometimes, obviously, I know obviously you require probably blood test to determine exactly the level of drugs or what kind of drugs. But sometimes when an officer walks into the house and you see the exposure paraphernalia very clearly there, that will indicate at least there is maybe some drug misuse behavior. Just to see, especially in small communities like US or Para or whatever, it's really important to know. Okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. Councillor Nolly MacDonald, online.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and welcome, Ross. I've been in touch with you via email already. I know you're a Roach now and a Keen Point supporter. I didn't notice a police presence at the game last Friday, where, quite frankly, the performance of the home team was criminal. And it would have been great if your officers could have intervened and maybe stopped what was going on down at Parker Row. But that's for another time. I also chair the licensing board, and I alluded to a meeting. Hopefully we can catch up at some point, and a welcome meeting as well with the local pub watch scheme, because we do have, or we will have, ongoing enhanced, I think, activity within the town, given what's ahead of us in terms of the renewable schemes and the developments that's going to be happening in and around Stornoway, where we're going to have an influx of mostly male, I would suggest, young workers who will have free time at the weekends, etc. And our pub watch scheme is keen that we have a profile. So I think a catch-up, we'll arrange maybe at some date to sit with Pub Watch and yourself, so we can maybe discuss the wider picture. I think it's great that you're going out to meet community councils. I think that's important as well. I think raising the profile of the police and getting the community actively involved in the policing of their island, because you're part of the community as much as, I mean, we have this issue where the Comhairle doesn't seem to be included as part of the community. The community seems to be the community, and the Comhairle, and the police are the police. But we're all in this together. We're all one community. And I think, the sooner we realise that working together is part of how we make things happen better for everybody, and that policing is integral to keeping us all safe. So I think if we can arrange a meeting together with the Pub Watch scheme, the licensing board ourselves, going forward, it would be advantageous just to put you in the picture as to what's in the offing, and how we can best prepare for what's going to be coming before us. And again, it's great to see you at the meeting, and we look forward to working together.
Councillor, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate the warm welcome. I'll run on a no comment on the first subject, to say that I've made it to 3 games, I think, and they won all 3 games, and they've lost the games I've not been at. So if they want a mascot position available, then I'll be happy to join in that capacity. In relation to the Pub Watch and licensing board, absolutely. So I have emails from yourself and also Pub Watch there to get back to, and I would welcome a meeting, because I think we get it right in that space. That's what continues to drive our violence figures down, etc. As previously alluded to just there, alcohol is a main factor in most cases of violence. So I would really welcome that meeting, and I do share your view and concern on the renewables projects in terms of workforce. So what we've actually done is at the Western Isles Emergency Planning Coordinating Group, which I chair and chaired my first one last week, we had an input from one of those big companies, and what we actually discussed was, I'm really keen that we join the dots with our local police force and also our drugs detection dog to make sure that we support each other in ensuring that any workforce that comes onto the island is a reputable, responsible workforce. And I think we can really work together to make sure that, you know, we can get and educate and enforce, and, you know, not to cast any aspersions, but I think there's really real opportunity to work together there. And I think that seemed to be welcomed by them. So thank you very much, Councillor.
Okay, thank you. We'll now have Kenneth MacLean, followed by Callum MacLean. Mustafa, your light is still on, or your hand's still up. Is that a legacy, or? Oh, it's gone now.
Apologies.
Okay then, Councillor MacLean in Barra.
Hi there. It was just a suggestion or a request. Over the weekend, both me and Councillor McNeill had to email multiple different officers and tried calling things about an incident down here in Barra. And we're aware we could have called 999 for it, but it seemed a bit... I don't know if it would have been appropriate to call on the cavalry like that. Would it be possible for the stations to have regular phone lines put back into them? Even just for officials like ourselves or people in the NHS who need to contact the police for any sort of incidents that might be better handled in a more subtle fashion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I am aware of the incident in which you refer. I did come back in email just at the start of the week there. I've actually picked it up over the weekend myself. Even though I was off Saturday, Sunday, I actually had my email device with me, picked it up on Sunday and tasked that out to the local officers. I think it would have merited a 999 call at the time, just in relation, you know, just in the general, I suppose, tone of the incident. Unfortunately, lines back into police stations is not something that is going to happen, and that's purely because we've moved to online now. So fixed phones in stations is a thing in the past. I think we have one in each station, purely from a point of resilience and business continuity, should we need it. So we're not wholly reliant online. However, because of our command and control system, so when you phone the police, all calls go through that threat, risk and harm assessment. So who's involved in it, what is so that if we are responding to it, we are sending officers into a fully briefed incident so they know. So unfortunately, the days of contacting directly, other than over and above what you've kind of alluded to, there's knowing local cops and being able to phone them, that's not something that we're going to get back to. In relation to other services, NHS and stuff, we obviously have our service centres that their area control room, so fire control, Scottish Ambulance Control can actually patch a direct number through to our Dundee-based area control room, and a call will be logged or an incident will go out to local officers. I'll take this opportunity to say there is a Contact Us section of the Police Scotland website, and it's really, really good. I have heard the challenges in terms of 101, and I know that a lot of people can, you know, be on the phone for 40 minutes, an hour, waiting to report an incident. The Contact Us online portal allows you to fill out a pro forma form. It's straightforward, it is relatively easy, and what that does is that populates direct to the area control room. So the person, the submitter, no longer has to sit for an hour, and that'll come through, and then it will be logged as a call, and it will come out to the local officers. I hope that answers the question.
Does that answer your question, Councillor MacLean?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Just one of them. It's just about the 2,000 odd tablets you discovered, whatever. Over how long a period was that?
That's been since March.
Oh my. Okay, that is genuinely shocking. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor MacLean, and move to another Councillor MacLean, Callum.
Thanks, Chair. Let me point out to Councillor MacDonald. I wouldn't call his own team criminal last Friday. I would call the visiting team as overpowering in that they managed to get 6 goals past their point a goalkeeper. So I wouldn't be too concerned, Councillor MacDonald, about the criminality of that one. So, but anyway, thanks very much for your report, Ross. And may I say that the data is very enlightening. It's clear, first class on it. But what is a wee bit concerning is, as we mentioned before and has been mentioned in the chamber umpteen times, is antisocial offences. I noticed that threatening or abusive behaviour is still at 91 for 2024. You've got 81, it's up from the previous year and so on. And then again, I noticed that in miscellaneous offences, community and public order offences, again, it's staying at 22. So we've still got a problem in our communities regarding antisocial behaviour. And you've touched on what I was going to come to, and actually is contacting the police. It is, I've said it before, when I try to contact the police, I think I would be easier to actually get into Barlinnie than to actually contact the police from in Stornoway, because I've got to go to Dundee. An individual was speaking last night. He tried to contact police about, he found a gentleman who had taken a heart attack on the roadside. He tried to contact the ambulance, which he found was absolutely pathetic itself. And then he contacted police, and he was ended up in Dundee. And by the time he would have given every answer to what he had got. The poor man would have probably died. So he took him into his own wagon and took him to the hospital. So it's the contacting is the problem that I see. People do see antisocial behaviour, but by the time they haven't got what we used to have, I'm showing my age as well. We used to walk into the police station, we used to phone the police station, and we would have a copper out very, very quickly. We can't get that now, and it's really a means of people not reporting. I do believe that people say to me, I've heard that it is an impossibility of actually to get in contact with the local police through Dundee. And you mentioned yourself, Ross, that it's not possible now. We've moved into this era of high tech or whatever, but it's very low tech when you can't get a policeman when you want one. But anyway, that's just a side comment. But the problem is the antisocial behaviour is. Would you agree that it's still a problem?
So, yeah, I mean, I suppose I've got to say that it is easy for me to sit here and say, well, actually, you know, the figures show us that ASB is coming down. I do note your comments in relation to, you know, that peaking back in 2021, 2022, and then 92, 81, 91, the threatening or abusive behaviour. So that, you know, that's not solely attributable to antisocial behaviour, if you like. There are instances where we can have one-off incidents where somebody's shouting and swearing, or two people know each other, decide to have a bit of a fight, shall we say, or a fallout, and that is classed. That by its very nature would be classed as antisocial behaviour. So I think, you know, whilst I can sit here and say, are we seeing that antisocial behaviour at this moment in time? No, we are not seeing. We're not seeing a significant problem, is what I'm saying. The figures don't tell me there's a significant problem. However, caveat that with, I do totally take on your point, and as mentioned previously, you know, if we're not, I'm not going to sit here and say I've got the whole picture, because I don't, and I would never be as complacent as that to think that I did. So going on to the contacting police, we do want to know about antisocial behaviour if it's happening, and any other crimes. 999 you should be able to get through within, you know, minutes, if not less than that. We do prioritise the 999 line, which is why the 101 line now and again can result in lengthy delays in getting through, because that priority is diverted to the 999 line. The online form that I discussed, I think people fill that out, they'll be pleasantly surprised in terms of response. And again, that's notwithstanding that we do have this threat, risk and harm. So I can never, Councillor, I can never get away from the fact that we can get a call in about antisocial behaviour. And as you said, you know, time's gone by, you'd be able to walk in and you would get that officer out there then, or you would have your community cop out. I will never be able to sit here and get away from the fact that we are, you know, possibly have 2 crews on, and the crews could be out dealing with other incidents, and as such, through our prioritisation system, that antisocial behaviour may be classed further down the priority than, say, a domestic offence that's ongoing or something more urgent. So, yeah, I suppose what I'm trying to get at is I do understand the challenges in terms of contacting the police, but through the online form, through, you know, our police station still being open to the public, and our community cops are still out and known to most of the public. I think you could probably, you know, used in Barra, a lot of people will be able to tell me, and Stornoway to an extent, who exactly their cops are. That coupled with the fact of what we've started doing now is we've started trying to build a picture of community groups, housing associations, you know, for example, scout groups or youth groups. And what we're seeking to do is we're seeking to build a portfolio where when officers come in on a Monday, Tuesday, whatever it may be, they will be tasked with a proactive activity or tasking, so, you know, speeding on the brae or antisocial behaviour patrols in the town, and a community engagement tasking. So, for instance, tonight might see the meeting of a local residents association, or might see the meeting of the scouts, and the officers will be tasked with, you know, providing there's no ongoing demand, drop in and just speak to people, just stop in, speak to them, and I hope that we will get some of that community awareness, engagement, and that antisocial behaviour will be told to us then, so that the officers can go away, they can tell all of their colleagues, we can actually, you know, we can plan a response to it, we can respond, and then when we go back the following week or the following month, we're actually able to go back and say, look, you said about this antisocial behaviour in a certain part of town, this is what we've done about it. So I am committed to trying to open back up those links with the community.
Very good, thanks, Ad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gordon-Murray.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks a lot, and thank you very much for your presentation, Chief Inspector McCartney. And first of all, I'd like to wish you all the best on your role, on your new role. Just picking up on a couple of points, or one particular point, with regards to the big construction projects in the past. I do believe that the construction companies were doing random drug testing on their workforce. So, given the seriousness of the drug situation throughout Scotland, in our islands as well, would you agree with me that random drug testing should be encouraged and happening in public organisations, and maybe there should be a campaign encouraging organisations and groups to do random drug testing, you know, as a way of discouraging drug use? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for the warm welcome and your question. And I suppose what I'll say on that is I absolutely support any forms of action taken by, you know, any employer to ensure that their workforce is safe, to ensure that their workforce is responsible. So whilst I wouldn't comment on specific that people should or should not introduce this, because purely I have absolutely no control over it, what I will say is, and as previously stated, in relation to offering the services of our drugs detection dog, offering the services in relation to our officers, providing information and engagement with big organisations, we will absolutely support any measures that these businesses, and you know what, I think it'd be great if they were to put in these safety measures.
Thanks very much, Chief Inspector. That's very encouraging. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any further lights on, although there was a couple trying to come in, I think. Oh, I see Councillor Kenny MacLeod in the chamber, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ross, for the report, and welcome to the board. And hopefully, we'll have lots of interaction over the next months and years with moving things forward. Just a couple of things from the report. I have one of these problems where I look at figures and do lots of analysis of them. There's just a couple of things in the actual report that jumped out at me, which I think one of them at least might be a typing error. In page 6 on the road safety, you had drug driving offences 101.9% detection rate, but only 100% in the speeding offences. I'm assuming that was just playing with figures. But the other one that really caught me was the following page, the assault and serious assault figures. And I think there must be some missing figures there, wrong ones, because for year to date 22-23, an assault was 109, and 24-25 is 103, and a 3-year average of 135. But then for serious assault, you've got those same figures there again, but only a 6.7 3-year average. So either we've had a serious jump from assault to serious assault, or the wrong figures have been put in there.
Thank you, Councillor. I suppose first and foremost, congratulations on your new appointment to Vice Chair.
We'll see about that one.
And yes, I do absolutely look forward to working with you. Yes, the 101.9% is an anomaly, and that can be caused where we have, one accused, multiple offences, and as you say, that is a system thing. However, it's good to see our drink and drug driving offences, albeit 13. I suppose the comment I'll just make on that as well is there's been a recent pilot in Shetland of drug wipes, so local police officers being trained in drug detection wipes. That has concluded last week, and they're working through that data at the moment to see what that tells them, and hopefully, all going well, I'll certainly be pushing for a rollout to the Western Isles, because I would really like from officers to be trained in that, and I think it's it's an excellent skill and capability to have on the island. And in relation to the serious assault figures, I think you're absolutely spot on. The 5-year and 3-year averages seem to be correct, and then when we get to the year to date 2024, 2025 and the variation, I would agree that those figures appear to be incorrect. We certainly have not had 109 and 103 serious assaults.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I thought the same thing, that there was no, if it had been, we would have been hearing about it and reading about it in the press. But as you say, it's encouraging to see the drop in the number of drunk driving offences, or drink and drug driving offences for the year to date variation down 13, which is good to see. Oh, sorry, no, I'm reading that wrong. It's actually an increase. So my apologies. But obviously the drug detection wipes, I think, is an excellent way forward. I think we've had a presentation previously on that here, and it's good to hear that the trial is over and it's looking to be rolled out. It's certainly something I would welcome happening and being used extensively here. We all know the serious consequences of these issues, and the more detection we can do, hopefully the more we can prevent things getting escalating out of hand, and the top box there of fatalities from road traffic collisions going up. That's the last thing we want. So anything that reduces that has got to be welcome.
Absolutely.
Okay, at this point, I don't see any more lights on in the chamber or hands up online. So I would like to thank the Chief Inspector very much indeed for his report, and members for their contributions. Do members agree to note the report? Yep. Thank you very much. And just before we let you go, Chief Inspector and I met last month, and one of his suggestions on offers was the offer to meet us informally as to discuss things that perhaps we don't particularly want to bring up, or we cannot bring up at committee. So I think we would welcome that opportunity and look forward to putting that into place, Chief Inspector.
That's great. Thank you, Chair. And it's a pleasure to meet everybody I've not met before, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So moving on then to item number 5, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service performance against the Fire and Rescue Plan for the Western Isles. And I'm going to invite Group Commander Chris Smith to speak to the report.
Good afternoon, everyone, Chair, members. Firstly, may I thank all partners for their continued support and assistance in both our community engagement work and our operational response over the reporting period. 2 requests. I would like to formally request recognition of the tragic loss of 3 lives in the Bicester incident on the 15th of May. Among those who sadly passed away was one member of the public and 2 firefighters who courageously carrying out their firefighting and rescue duties. Their sacrifice and dedication deserves acknowledgement. For members, this was on-call crews who are 14 stations on the Western Isle. It's the same duty system. It just shows what a dangerous job. And formal recognition to Scott Gibson on his retirement. The previous LSO is now officially retired, and introducing, I know he's met a couple of members, is Robert Lennox as our new local senior officer for Western Isles. Just briefly before the report, our new SFRS strategy is expected to be announced in August 25, which sets our national direction and shapes our approach to how we plan and deliver our services. In turn, this will shape other work plans across the service, and it's an important step to progress in our long-term vision. We have clear goals and we will achieve them for the people of Scotland. This plan will help us make decisions about our actions and how we use our resources. Overview of where we are. The service delivery review is very important. Noted that through public consultation, the balanced rooms took place on the 29th of April. That resulted in all options being considered for the final 12-week public consultation, which goes live shortly, and I will send that link on to elected members. Final decision on the proposal will be made by the SFRS board in December. I must note that no considerations or impact on the current delivery model for the Western Isles. This plan is the first step in our ongoing journey to become Scotland's sustainable and modern fire and rescue service. Of all members have received the quarterly report, the 6-monthly report. I'll quickly just go through it for any points. So we'll start at table 3, the accidental. There is a summary and trends over the 3-year average. So accidental dwelling fires. There were 9 accidental dwelling fires during the quarters 3 and 4, which is slightly higher than the previous period. All these fires are always followed up with a home fire safety visit and agency referrals where required. Accidental dwelling fire casualties. We've had 1 non-fatal casualty during this period. This is reduced, and thankfully no fatal casualties and no people required to be rescued. Non-fire casualties. This is 12 non-fatal casualties, 2 fatalities, and 5 people rescued by firefighters. There's been an incline in the number of non-fatal casualties when compared to the previous years, with 10 non-fatal casualties being as a result of road traffic collisions. However, these appear to be slight. We'll always work with our colleagues and partners in the police to determine any cause. That is their duty, but we will help feed in. Deliberate fires. There has been a decline, which is brilliant, over the number of these incidents. However, the 4 deliberate fires, 3 of them took place in the early evening between the hours of 6 and 9. Again, we're always in discussion with our partners in the police, any council areas that can be helped, and any referrals through fire setters intervention schemes that we can. 3 of these were refuse and grassland was the other one. Non-domestic fires. We have 2 non-domestic fires in this period. Have been low impact and caused little or no damage. Our focus on prevention is in supporting and achieving this. Every non-domestic fire is a relevant premise, meaning a business. That is always carried out. Always at the end of that, there's a post-fire audit from our fire safety enforcement officers or our fire safety auditing officers to comply with their statutory duties. Unwanted fire alarm signals. We've dealt with 20 unwanted fire alarm signals, what we call UFAS, during the 6 months, which is, although slightly higher than the same period in the previous year, continues to be significantly lower in comparison to the periods prior. On the 1st of July 2023, we had implemented a UFAS policy where it was reduced on property type to what we would attend. However, we will always attend on a 999 call to back that up, but the onus falls on the owner of the business to make that determination. Road traffic collisions. We've had 11 within the recording period, 10 within cars, 1 within a van, which sadly resulted in 1 RTC related fatality and 10 injuries. Again, working with the partners in the police and ambulance service to make sure that this is concluded safely and any learning identified. Moving on to our home fire safety visits, is broken down there into the wards. We've carried out 19 visits, 12 high risk and 3 partner referrals. Again, we've had 29 fire safety enforcement audits. So in support of the communities and fulfilling their obligations, our enforcement officers have conducted these audits. It's broken down there into 7 care homes, 2 hospices, 2 hospitals, 3 hotels, 7 short-term lets, 1 hostel and 2 HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy. Section 12, station availability. We have good coverage across most of the area. The anomalies I'll point out. Lochmaddy and Valtos. The system that we use is a Gartan system. It is for crew availability. Previously, these stations had RRUs, rapid response units, which crewed 4. They now have standard fire engines. However, the system we have won't let us change it. There is a new system coming. There's a Gartan upgrade, so that will go live and that will take up that anomaly. Looking across the availability as well, you'll see that Benbecula second appliance is at 6%. However, the rationale behind that, the figures behind that, within that crew, we have 2 on maternity leave and 1 on career break. That takes up that anomaly. They have an extra 3 bodies there. However, they're on current breaks. Across the Western Isles, we have 131 station-based personnel, 2 rural watch commanders. However, that's 3 at the moment, as we have 1 on career break, and we have 2 people doing a job share there. So that is in the meantime. 2 station commanders, 1 group commander, and 1 area commander. However, the area commander is responsible for Western Isles, Orkney and Shetland as well. And we have prevention and protection and training team as well, based at Stornoway. On to community safety and engagement. As the Chief Inspector said, we are involved in the SEG events, upcoming SEG events every meeting. We have show presence on these meetings, which ties into a fire safety enforcement officer who has to check and sign off these things as well. Also, if there's any chance for crew to visit or carry out any response drills, that will be factored in. As you can imagine, the holiday lets is a massive emerging risk within the whole of Scotland. So our fire safety officers, they've conducted 65 of these within the recording period, and 21 of these have been reviewed. By the end of June, a new fire safety officer, auditing officer, will assume their post on a 4-month term as part of a job share. The volume of the short-term let licences has generated a significant workload, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So to address this, the plans are for this individual to conduct retrospective reviews, with the new officer carrying a crucial role in this. Within the next bit, some of the good work that just highlights why our teams carry out these work and links into the LOIP. We have Bonfire and the LOIP and our thematic action plan. Just quickly going through it there is a bit more to read. Bonfire and Fire Safety Works, Fireworks Safety Talks at Tarbert. A Careers Day. for sustainability within the community and the service. Our Gaelic language plan, it was a great piece of work in Loch Boydsdale. So a team there visited and were given a tour of the station as it is the mainstay, and as us a service, we recognise that this is an area that this is predominantly spoken. It's a stronghold. Part of our response and resilience for responding to operational incidents, various exercises were carried over the recording period. As you can appreciate, a good exercise held at Tarbert Ferry Terminal, quite a few ferry terminals within the Western Isles, so with the shared learning there as well, it travels far. So a vital opportunity for local crews to test the response and firefighting capabilities within demanding, it's basically a steel box there. Animal rescue training. Animal rescue has been developed for the British Horse Society, attended by local vets. It's enhancing animal, public and crew safety. Far more structured now, far more guidance and assistance. The crews are equipped and trained, and we're waiting on the final sign-off for some new equipment. The big ticket item, I believe, for everyone, and hopefully everyone is very impressed. Stornoway is now a Tier 3 wildfire station. So we have new equipment, new training. Basically, we have a 4x4, a trailer and an ATV. This is all now fully live. I'll cover it, there's a bit further on. This is now fully live. However, it's called Wildfire Training Unit. This is used for searching for the members of the public as well, in conjunction with our partners, the Coast Guard and the police, and has been recently used. So not just a wildfire unit, it can be used for lots of different resources, operational incidents. Again, our training staff are continually making sure that we have new firefighters coming through from our basic course, our task and task management. Also breathing apparatus, initial courses, that is the bread and butter of our crews entering a burning building to extinguish the fire. So 12 personnel have recently passed that over the recording period, strengthening their local firefighting capabilities. Unfortunately, it's the way we have to get into a fire. It's a completely alien environment, a dangerous environment. So the crews are trained to the best of their ability, led by the training staff. Again, Benbecula Airport, a good interagency exercise held there with the airport crews. They would always be first in attendance, however, we would back them up. So it's always imperative that we train for that, enhancing our skills. To conclude section 14, our home fire safety visits, we're now entering a new phase of our home fire safety. It's a now new modernised home fire safety system that enhances how we identify and assess and support those most at risk. It's a transitional year as we embed these new systems, the referral pathways. With the networks, we'd always make sure that our partners are at the forefront to ensure GDPR, but to make sure that these interventions are immediate. As I've just discussed with the wildfire strategy, it's not just the Stornoway station. I draw your attention to, sorry, it's not the page number. I draw your attention to Tier 2 stations. Throughout Scotland, we've got 24 of them. Shawbost is now a Tier 2 station, which means they will shortly receive a lightweight PPE. They've been trained on all the equipment at Stornoway. Note they're trained on the ATV, but not to drive it. So they will always back up Stornoway station at large. As you can appreciate, wildfire is a large, onerous fire over long distances, and welfare is a major factor for our crews. So we can't just have one crew trained. The Tier 3 station, the 10 stations across Scotland, which is a massive investment, one of which is Stornoway and is equipped with the Ford Ranger trailers, ATVs. My invite to any member who wishes to visit at any point to see this new equipment, please feel free to contact me to visit. We'll have a flexi-duty officer. We have one flexi-duty officer who's undergone wildfire tactical advisor training. This is a TACAD, tactical advisor. This is across the country, not just specific to fires. And I know that the officer involved in this skill has helped with fires on the mainland. So it's a national skill. One of the emerging risks, and I know it was touched on by the Chief Inspector, is we have the battery energy storage system about to go, well, in the planning phases. With YPEG meeting last week, we had a good informative brief from one of the leads on it, a good PowerPoint presentation, and took a lot of questions. For us as a service, we have been involved at the water planning stage, and we're now, the Greenspan Energy have been in contact with us regarding this development in November, and information passed of what the site was still in pre-site design. Our ask to them was to be involved at every stage for any resources, any pre-planning for any emergencies, which is underway once they get started. And finally, if I could just reiterate, the Community Asset Register is a massive help to us, a massive help to the local community. There is things on the mainland. We have resources on the mainland, which unfortunately there is just no way we can get them to the islands. So the Community Asset Register is a massive help to all agencies. I could highlight that at every opportunity for any person has equipment. It would assist us in any rescue operation. To please come forward. There is the link there, or you have my contact details. That concludes my report. Thank you very much, and now happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much indeed, Group Commander, and thank you for your report. And I'm sure we all reiterate the words with which you began by highlighting the risky operation that people are involved in, and I'm sure as a board we back that too. Can I open up then to anybody who wishes to ask any questions after that very full and comprehensive report, both paper and written and read, sorry. Anybody? Nobody online? I think you've covered everything very comprehensively, and if there are no further questions or any questions, do members agree to note the report? Yeah, agreed. So thank you very much indeed, Group Commander, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Time. Thank you.
Okay, we move on then to item number 6, consumer protection and environmental health. A report by the Chief Officer for Assets and Infrastructure. This report seeks approval of the Consumer Environmental Services Service Plan 2025-26, and Christine Morrison will speak to the report and answer any questions.
And thank you also for the welcome you gave to me at the start of the meeting, given it's my first meeting as Consumer and Environmental Services Manager. The Consumer and Environmental Services Service Plan comes to the board on an annual basis. The priorities and issues for the service are listed in section 5.3 of your report and cover the following areas: food safety, health and safety, animal health and welfare, trading standards, environmental health, various licensing under Animal Health and Civic Government Scotland legislation, and there's much more detailed information available in Appendix 1 of the report. I'm happy to take any questions that members may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for the report. Do we have any questions from members either online or in the chamber? It doesn't look like it. So do members agree the recommendation at 3.1? Agreed. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then that takes us on to item 7, performance management outcome delivery report, and report by the Chief Officer. This report is for noting and presents the final annual outcomes of the 2024-25 departmental strategic priorities, together with the outcomes of the 2023-24 local government benchmarking framework performance indicators for the assets and infrastructure business unit. The area of relevance to this board is consumer and environmental health, and Colin Fraser will speak to this report and answer any questions.
Thank you, Chair. As outlined, the areas of the reports which refer to this board are detailed. I'll go through the paragraphs. 7.4, where the works of the service tie in with the strategic outcome, our communities are safe, inclusive and resilient. And at paragraph 7.24, where the services have an LGBF indicators to make year-on-year reductions in the cost of the services per thousand population. That's also at the end of the report. It's got these indicators for 23-24, which highlight two reds where we are above the aspirational targets for the costs per thousand population. It's going to be quite hard to reach these aspirational targets anyway because of the recent increases in inflation and staff costs coupled with reducing populations. So these aspirational targets will likely move further from actual costs, and the service will look at more realistic targets for future years. And just probably, if members haven't downloaded a recent report, the report was slightly updated just before the board started. There were financials missing from sections paragraph 9.1, and it's been updated. They indicate £48,000 underspend for the services over the period. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, are there any questions either in the chamber or online? I see no questions. So insofar as the board's interests are concerned, do members agree to note the report? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. That's agreed. And that takes us on to item number 8, performance monitoring, which is for noting. The next scheduled meeting of the committee will be on the 17th of September 2005, which seems a long way off, but I'm sure it'll seem like no time before we're sitting back here again with Councillor MacLeod up on the bench. Thank you very much indeed for your attendance. Thank you.